Greetings, villains, vigilantes, heroes, and heroines. You're tuned in to Project Supervillain. I'm your host, ArcDrifter, and today I'm going to be doing another episode of the Echelon of Epicness. That's just our fancy title for a game review. But the game we're going to be looking at today is Persona 5 Strikers. I've been playing this game throughout the year. It's really fun. I'm going to tell you guys why in just a second. But if you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe. We do appreciate any new people joining the channel. And also leave a like if you like this kind of video. It actually really helps us out in the algorithm. Thank you very much. But that being said, let's just hop into it. Okay, so Persona 5 Strikers was developed by Atlus, co-developed by Koei Tecmo, and published by Sega. It was released on February 22nd on PS4, Steam, and the Nintendo Switch, making it the first Persona game to be released on the Switch and Steam. And many of other people are like, hey, when's Royal coming to Steam now? You know, like, let's get that going. But that being said, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the game itself, how awesome it was, and in what ways. So, the first thing I'd like to get started talking about here is the story. It's a direct sequel from Persona 5, but not to be confused with Persona 5 Royal, which was released last year. Persona 5 Royal was a remade version of Persona 5, and it had another character and a new story arc and everything, but with this game coming out, Persona 5 Strikers, it would be a direct sequel to Persona 5, and thusly making Persona 5 Royal not canon, which honestly kind of made me upset. I was like, why did I spend so much time playing this game for you guys just to take it all away? It was kind of weird for me, but maybe they'll do a Persona 5 Strikers Royal or something like that. I don't know. So what's supposed to be a chill summer vacation for Joker and his friends turns into a whole new Persona adventure. It clocks in at around 35 to 50 hours and around 60 hours for a completionist. Many of the Persona nuances carry over, like some of the typical systems you'd see, the dialogue system, the overworld underworld system, where you're on Shibuya half the time and the other half the time there's like a metaverse kind of thing. Now it's different in this game, and I can kind of explain a little bit to it without spoiling the game for you guys, but essentially you're in jails instead of palaces in this game, and there's the rulers of the palaces have a different name too. They're not the same as what you remember from Persona 5. There's a different reason for it. I'm not going to get too into it. Now, the story was impactful. I really enjoyed it, though it did carry over a lot of similar story arc segments. It's kind of similar to what Star Wars The Force Awakens was to Star Wars A New Hope. If you guys know what I mean, it was very similar to that. There was a lot of like the same things being done. It kind of like recycles some of the elements here and there, if you know what I mean. Like people that have played the game might understand what I'm saying, but it's not like to the detriment of the game. It's still a good story. It's different enough to distract you for the most part. I just thought there was a couple parts that kind of like reminded me too much of the original game and some of the story arcs that happened in that. But maybe that's just a personal opinion. I'm curious to know what you guys think about that. Feel free to comment down below. I'd like to give a rating for the story here, and I think it deserves a 3 out of 5. I don't think it deserves more than that, because it just kind of does what it's supposed to do. It's long, and there's lots of content, which is good, so it definitely isn't a bad story in any way. Again, I just think it loses some points due to the fact that a lot of the story segments very much were recycled from the first game, and I don't know, it was a weird decision on their part, if you ask me. Moving on to the setting and the atmosphere, it takes place firstly in Shibuya and in the surrounding area you're already familiar with from the previous games. But then you'll travel between different cities in Tokyo, trying to find answers and save people from their desires being stolen, which is kind of the whole thing going on. Each area is packed with different shops, and the streets have more life than Night City in Cyberpunk 2077. I guess that's not saying too much, but that's more of a diss to Cyberpunk than anything. The point still stands that the streets are packed with people, there's lots going on, and the streets have life. The shops are all different. There's many throughout the game in each city, and the casual areas of the game like this are apparently very similar to the actual streets of Japan, which I thought was pretty cool little fact there. I've never really been to Japan, so I can't say for certain if that's true or not. The anime-style graphics aren't anything to gawk over, and in order to make this game run smoothly on the Switch, you can tell that they've kind of taken a step back in resolution. I don't know if anybody else noticed that. I definitely noticed because I've been playing Persona 5 Royal and Persona 5 like back to back over the past year. The entire quarantine was me playing Persona. Don't judge me. So Persona stays true to its roots by having zany and energetic dungeons. Again, they're called something different in this game. They're called jails, but they are also very wide. They well thought out. They're fun to navigate, and the levels are massive too. Like just the stuff you'd expect from the Persona franchise. So there wasn't much more to say about the setting, so I just want to say, like, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Didn't really overly stand out compared to other games, honestly, and it didn't do a bad job at all, so it's just a standard 3 out of 5. I don't think it deserves any more or any less than that. But I'd like to move on to the next part, which I think we should talk about, is the audio. That includes both music and sound effects and stuff. So, Lin Inazami and the Persona band return to work their magic for yet another Persona title. It features an amazing soundtrack consisting of new tracks, some previously written tracks, and remixes of both. A beautiful mixture of jazz, soul, and dance music that'll keep your head nodding while you're kicking ass. While the music is always bumping in a Persona game, its sound effects weren't anything super special. They reuse a lot of sounds from the previous game, which is a double-edged sword as it hits those nostalgic notes for the player, but it doesn't really say much about the creativity that went into it. In the city, you can hear the sounds of the city around you, but it's all stagnant white noise that's pretty much only succeeding at creating the illusion of the busy street, which I'm making sound like it's a horrible thing, but it really isn't as bad as it sounds. It just doesn't really stand out in this category is what I'm trying to say here. The music really carries the audio in this game, but we kind of need to take a couple points away because they were using a lot of the same tracks in the previous games. Which, you know, again, double-edged sword, but it's good music, don't get me wrong, but as someone that has been playing Persona 5 Royal for the past year, and again, Persona 5 before that, it does get a little repetitive, so because the music does such a good job, but the sound effects were kind of just, you know, they're nothing special ever in these games, I'm just going to give it a 3 out of 5, again, pretty standard. I know I've given everything a 3 out of 5, I think, today, but, it's just doing a good job of staying straight down the middle, you know what I mean? Like, it's a solid game. But I'd like to get into one of the biggest highlights of the game, which, surprisingly, to me, was the gameplay. I wasn't expecting to like this. A Dynasty Warriors style gameplay, I thought I was going to hate it. I ended up loving it, and it has me opened up to playing more Dynasty Warrior games in the future, honestly. Yeah, I didn't really expect to enjoy it too much, despite being a hack-and-slash mainstay fan since, like, forever. I always found Dynasty Warrior games to be a little too easy, a little too relaxed for me. I prefer to have a little more thought into my strikes, but they're not bad games. I do appreciate them. I understand what they're for. Like, they're good stress relievers when you just want to, like, wipe out a big crowd of enemies, like, with no problem. Dynasty Warriors. So yeah, like I said, I like to have a little more thought and stuff put into my strikes, but I kind of forgot all about that because I had the powers of the Trickster. I was able to stop time and use personas to further my gameplay, further my technique. You can use almost all the personas from the original game in kind of the same way you could use them in the original game, despite the difference in gameplay. They obviously had to translate it from a turn-based game to a hack-and-slash, so some of the abilities aren't going to be working the same way. But they did a great job translating it into the Dynasty Warriors formula, impressively, really. Almost all forms of attack are available in the game, as well as your basic hack-and-slash combos that you actually get in this. You have access to your gun, of course, allowing for even more ranged combat. To avoid incoming damage in this game, the only method is to dodge, which in this game is done manually, as opposed to the predecessor, where it just like automatically dodged. In this, you actually can time your dodges, which makes it a lot more of a reactionary skill-based game as opposed to a strategy and a thinking game. There's still lots of strategy in this game, don't get me wrong, but compared to the Persona 5 and the turn-based style that game offers, this is definitely a different style. The gameplay's fast, fun, it's frantic, and the best part is in the game you can also play as your teammates. You can use their respective weapons and personas. So if you're worried you were just going to be playing as Joker the whole time, that's not the case. But he does have the most power. As the Trickster, he's going to have all sorts of different personas he can swap between, as opposed to the other characters who they will just have their one persona to use. Now, sadly, there's no romancing available in this game, and the game assumes you have not romanced any of the characters in the past either, which kind of sucks considering that was like one of the best parts of Persona. The confidant relationship building isn't in this game either. Again, another key component to the Persona formula. These two things are like butter on toast. It's just like that's what's supposed to be in a Persona game. But you know what? These things aren't actually a detriment to the game. Like, it does suck that they're not there, but the game is still great without it. Still a little disappointing as a fan. The character building and the hangout sessions aren't really there. That was really a part of the game I enjoyed. It's kind of replaced with side quests in this game, but they're severely less impactful and a lot less frequent. Dungeons also feature a decent amount of platforming, which is definitely not a highlight of the game, but it definitely serves its purpose. Nothing more than that. Stealth makes a return as well, but it stays true to its roots as a very bare-bones stealth system that is unfortunately sporadic and weird sometimes. Enemies will kind of see you from a mile away sometimes, so you never know when you're going to get caught. Usually it works pretty well, though. It works well enough. It just wasn't exactly the most fun part of the game, of course. By the end, I noticed I was more often than not just shooting enemies with my gun than even bothering to climb up on the rafters and take them down that way. I mean, it gives you health and stuff for doing that, but yeah, it was just a lot faster to just shoot them. So I am going to give the gameplay a higher ranking than everything else. The 4 out of 5 here. I do got to take points away because I didn't include my favorite thing, the confidant building and stuff, but the rest of the game was very solid. It actually turned me on to It actually turned me on to Dynasty Warriors style gameplay, which I didn't think was going to happen. So props to them for that. And yeah, 4 out of 5 seems pretty safe for this game. And I was very impressed by the gameplay. Moving on to one of, I think, our last category here. That's the characters. This game features a plethora of new ones at the expense of half of the beloved cast. A decision I've come to loathe them for. These new characters do not come close to making up to the old cast. Now, the game mostly takes place away from the area you would normally see these characters in, so adding new characters is an okay decision to me. And hell, even if the old characters that we've come to seriously love were featured even briefly for a moment, that would have been great. That would have satiated me, and I wouldn't be bitching right now, but these assholes wrote out our beloved 2D anime girls, and I can't deal. Kawakami, Hifumi, you don't see any of them, and so many more. Like, I'm not going to list them all off. There's a lot of characters missing from the game. There's light explanations as to where they are, but some of them don't even get that honor. Even Sai was featured for a very small amount, and she was like a main voice actor in the first game. Like, her voice was featured a lot more often than any of the other side characters, so seeing her very briefly featured in the game was kind of a surprise as well. They didn't even need to hire the voice actors, if you ask me. They could have just wrote in some dialogue and stuff. Would have been super easy. But I guess they're trying to save money or something. I'm not sure. I kind of move on to, like, I think my biggest complaint of this game, and that is Sophia, the new addition to the Phantom Thieves. Holy dumb fuck, shut the hell up. I'm trying to shop. Or I'm gonna throw rocks at your window, you dumb whore. Ugh, jeez. But seriously, they made a cool enough character, but she doesn't shut the hell up in the shop at any point in time. It actually pisses me off. Like, stop judging my spending habits, you asshole. Seriously though, the rest of the game, the character's fine and has cool arc and everything like that. But goddamn, shut up in the shop, please. Now, aside from my complaints, which are admittedly a little embellished there, I do find the rest of the cast to have done a superb job with the voice acting, as always, and the writing was fantastic. Each character seemingly had their own little moment in the game, somewhere throughout the main story. The character development and the story arc for Zenkichi, the witty detective, was done phenomenally and was a touching and charming part of the game. So aside from my complaints, I do feel the strongs heavily outweigh the negatives here. So yeah, I am going to give the characters a 4 out of 5 because most of them were great. I only have one really small complaint about Sophia, but other than that, they had cool character arcs. The original characters that you know and love were featured pretty nicely, but the big detriment was the fact that we're missing such a large portion of the original cast that we love so much. So 4 out of 5 is okay for me. It's the last little category I've got to talk about here. I do want to just say, overall, this game doesn't quite live up to its predecessor, but it still provides a fun new take on the Persona universe. It was great to see them trying something new, seeing as each numbered Persona game features a separate cast. So when we eventually see Persona 6, we know we're not going to be getting the same characters, but we'll get that same turn-based role-playing gameplay we know and love. And the new story as per tradition, but that means these other characters won't be featured too much, except for usually they do some music stuff and make like a rhythm game afterwards. So this is, I think this is different from what they usually do, and I'm not opposed to it at all, because I think Persona 5 was a very beloved game. It's getting a lot of people into the Persona series, and I'm definitely looking forward to see what they have next for the series as well. Well, that's going to conclude this episode of the Echelon of Epicness. If you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we will be back with more episodes like this soon. We do lots of other cool content on our channel too, if you want to check it out. Not only game reviews, but we do top 10s. We have like half our channel focused on electronic music, if you guys are interested in that. It's kind of what makes our channel a little bit different from others. But we do appreciate the support nonetheless, and if you want to support us even further, you can go find us at our Twitch page at twitch.tv/ProjectSuperVillain. We stream Fridays and Saturdays around 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That kind of varies every now and again, but we do release a schedule. And yeah, if you're following us, you'll see that stuff. But that being said, I'm going to call it here. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. Project dismissed. Peach out.